Hey everybody, welcome to our early comics review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with infinityfluxcomics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that are coming out this week so you know better what to get when you head to your local comic book store. We got some really big books this week. You can see the two in the middle right here, kicking it off with Ultimate Black Panther and Thundercats. Two cat titans.
That's right.
Taking on this week. So, don't forget, you can order these books that are available at infinityflux.net right now, so you don't miss out on any of the good stuff while supplies last. So let's get into it with probably the biggest of the week.
Yeah, we are going to start with Ultimate Black Panther. This is the second ongoing series in this new Ultimate Universe that we first were introduced to last year, and that we're still learning a lot about. There's still some things that we don't know, I feel like. We get a little bit more in this book. So this is written by Brian Hill. The art is by Stefano Caselli, whose artwork I've loved for forever. I love his artwork. Now, so what I'll say first about this book is it's very similar to Ultimate Spider-Man in that most of the story is world building, story building, getting us used to this new universe that we're living in. Not a whole lot of action, although there are a couple of quick but very cool action moments that I can't wait to see more of in future issues.
I feel like when you say setup, a lot of it's like, we're going to show you some of the key things that this is why this is the Ultimate Universe and not the main universe. Right. We've got to highlight some of those.
Yeah, and it's got to, got to establish what this first story arc is about, and but I will say, even though this is a little bit of a slow burn, just like Ultimate Spider-Man was, there's a hook at the end that, like, when you see it, it's like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens next. I am sold. You got me. At least that's what I thought. Yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, story. But then that happens, and I'm like, all right, I'm on board.
Yeah.
I got it. So, at the beginning of this book, we see there's a group of people in a village in West Africa, and they essentially get vaporized by these armored soldiers that are led by what looks kind of like the human incarnation of the gods Ra and Khonshu.
Yeah.
And you know them from 616 Moon Knight. They're around a lot. And there are two Wakandan scouts that are kind of like hiding in the bushes that witness this. So they go back to Wakanda and they tell their king, T'Challa. So 616, T'Challa is not king of Wakanda right now, but in this one he is. He is sitting on the throne the way T'Challa should be.
This isn't like a Black Panther origin story.
Right. Oh, yeah. He's already Black Panther. He's already king, all that kind of stuff. And I will say that his sister Shuri is there as well. And they tell them, hey, this is what we saw. This is what happened. And Shuri says, we got to go get these guys right now. But T'Challa's a little bit more strategic. And he says, well, wait a minute. We need to get more information because in this new universe, in this book, Wakanda has not yet revealed themselves to the rest of the world.
Yep.
So in 616, everybody knows about Wakanda, but in this one, they're still like behind their cloaked dome and all that stuff.
That's our one thing is we have our element of surprise, and you can't get that back.
Yeah, he says. He says you only have that once, that element of surprise. So he wants to get all the information he can before he, reveals his hand, right? And it's hard to say. I don't want to reveal too much more.
There's some really cool key things that are subtle, but are ways you can tell this is different.
Yeah.
And there's people who are around and playing different roles and stuff. You go, oh, okay, I see how this is different.
Yeah, I will say that he is married in this. I'm not going to tell you who he's married to, but I found it to be very interesting. Yep. I was like, oh, I want to see more of that dynamic. I want to see more of that character that he is married to and what their relationship is like. So I thought that was done really well. There are also two other characters that we do see for a couple pages in this book. I was not expecting to see them in this issue, so it was cool that they were there, and it made me want to really see more of them.
Yeah, I want to say that was probably my favorite part of the book, and we can talk about this better probably when issue 2 comes out.
Right.
Looking back on it, but the other thing is like I feel like Wakanda will not be able to stay hidden forever, and T'Challa will not be able to sit back for very long.
Yeah, and that may be part of that hook at the end that I was telling you about. So, Yeah, I mean, I want you to go in with fresh eyes on
Yeah.
this because it was a joy reading this page by page and learning and seeing what this was like. So I don't want
Yeah.
to say anything more about the story, but I will say that again, just like Ultimate Spider-Man, I do think that this is going to require a little bit of patience. It's going to be a little bit of a slow burn, but I think that once that ball has really gotten rolling, I think we're in for a really cool story.
Yeah.
They're all, like I said, the very beginning, like first or second page, you see like what look like human versions of Raw and Khonshu, which tells us, all right, well, maybe there's some kind of a Moon Knight connection, but it's
Yeah.
probably not going to be like Moon Knight we
Not the way you
know.
expect. Yeah.
Exactly. So
And
they're
it's really interesting because you think of these characters like Ron Khonshu in the 616, and I think of like Khonshu as like this weird robed bird thing, where
right.
at one point he kind of was like a zombie looking
Hmm.
thing. But if you take those and be like, okay, they're more like down to earth looking,
Yeah.
and their soldiers or whatever are not like ancient Egyptian looking soldiers. They're very
Yeah.
like
They're like
tactical looking.
stormtrooper looking
Yeah, so
guys.
you're almost like, what is this form of these
Yeah.
characters now?
And it makes me wonder, and we don't know this. So we see two guys, Ra and Khonshu. Are they imbued with the essence of those gods, or is it just a name?
Yeah.
Are they just like, is that just their shtick? But they're like, oh, we're really just like, um, well armed, tech bros or
Yeah.
whatever. We just call ourselves Ra and Khonshu. I don't know. We don't know yet. So we don't know what the limit, what that limit is yet. But
Now,
I'm more to
the
find
thing
out.
I'm wondering about is, were they not present in Ultimate Invasion? And aren't they part of that like secret organization?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't
I thought at one
remember.
point they mentioned that they may be tied to the kind of hidden side of the Ultimate Universe.
I'm not sure.
So we'll have to keep our eyes open for
Yeah.
that. If maybe they are part of this cabal
Yeah.
of characters
Yeah,
that we
I
met in
don't think
Ultimate
they were, but
Invasion.
yeah, I'll have to go back and look at Ultimate Invasion. Those like 2-page spreads where you see all these different characters. I'm not sure if they were there.
Representatives of different places and
Yeah.
everything. But I thought this was really good. Stefano Caselli's art was awesome. The colors are by David Curiel, who I really like. He's done a lot of work with like X-Men and stuff. I thought reading this, like, this feels like a premium book, almost like a really good event book where you're like, they put all of their effort in this.
Yeah.
This felt that way, same as I thought that Ultimate Spider-Man #1 did. This
Yeah,
feels different
it had
in a very like big way.
yeah, it had the same kind of weight and gravitas to it that
Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man did. So far they're 2 for 2. Like
Yeah.
two big books.
We've got Ultimate X-Men coming up in about a couple weeks.
I think it's March 6th.
March
So
6th.
so about a month or so.
And then we'll keep our ears open for what's coming in the future.
Yeah, there's more. I mean, they're definitely not, this isn't going to be it, right?
Yeah.
But I liked it. Like once they got it hooking me at the end, I was 100% sold. So yeah, if you hopefully you can find a copy. I think we are already sold.
I
Or
think
not?
we're already sold out. This was solicited before Ultimate Spider-Man
Yeah.
#1 came out. And to be fair, I think probably for a lot of comic book shops, their numbers, their subscriber numbers for Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate Black Panther are not that high. This is a very like wait and see for a lot of
Mhm.
people. Once the success of Ultimate Spider-Man came out, then a lot of people went and pre-ordered and asked their store for Ultimate Black Panther now that they're on board for this. And so the stores couldn't compensate those orders. So a lot of stores will have very few to none at all left at this point. But I imagine this is also going to go to a second printing.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Just like Ultimate Spider-Man is now onto its third printing.
Yep.
And we haven't even got issue 2 out yet.
Right.
So if you do really want to read this, I imagine it won't be long before you can get your hands on a copy.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they haven't announced it, but I can almost guarantee it'll go second printing. So this won't be your last chance. So
Yeah.
if you don't find it, but if you can find it, or if the second print is announced, I 100% recommend it because
Yeah.
I am so interested in this new world, what Spider-Man's going to look like now, what Black Panther's going to look like, X-Men in a month. So I love it. I sing its praises as highly as possible. So this is our A cover right here. We've seen that
Great A
all over the
cover.
place. Yep. This is our Travel Foreman variant, which looks really cool. And you can see the difference in Black Panther's costume, like the mouth is cut out.
I really like that, and it kind of the nod to the costume he had.
Yeah, it was in the 70s,
Yeah.
early 70s. He only did it for like 2 issues, and they didn't. say anything about why, or as I remember anyway. Like, but yeah,
It's a kind of a nice nod to like, yeah, he has had a
yeah,
look very similar to
yeah.
this.
I really like this one a lot. This is the Darbo variant, Black Panther or T'Challa looking very regal on the throne. This is really cool. This is a Boss Logic cover, if you can tell who that is. And then we got a couple cool incentives. This is the 1 in 10 Caselli design variant. And he does look like that in this very strong and larger than life.
I like when they portray Black Panther as also very regal because he is a king as well
Mhm.
as a hero. So he always carries himself, with his shoulders back and everything.
Yeah,
It looks really cool.
yeah. Oh, sorry. We are selling that one for, I don't know. We don't have a price on
Nope.
it. This one doesn't either. Whoops. This is the 1 in 25 Ethan Young variant, which also looks very cool. Yeah, great. Yeah, they knocked it out of the park with this one and Spider-Man
Yeah.
both.
So if you had any doubt, we already had to place our orders for Ultimate X-Men. We had to do that today. As a
Today,
matter
yeah.
of fact, is when the orders are due for that. If you're seeing this like live or on Monday, you can try and get your orders in last minute. Hopefully, your store, I know our store, we've really upped our orders because of the trend of all of these Ultimate books. But be on the safe side. Go ahead, reach out to your store because don't expect there to be a whole lot of copies if you're trying to get all of the Ultimate Universe
Hmm.
books to that there will be any Ultimate X-Men left.
Yeah.
So, plan ahead,
Yeah.
plan accordingly.
And or again, if not, wait for those second printings and then jump on those pre-orders.
Yes. Okay, so next up, the other. I feel like I'm downplaying all the other books that came out this week, but
Oh, there's a ton of good books
there's
this
a ton
week.
of good
Like
books. There's a
this one
bunch
right
of
here
number
is
ones. Yeah. But I feel like the ones that maybe the most like
with the biggest fanfare.
the biggest fanfare and the most kind of like wondering about how they're going to be or
Yeah.
what they're going to be
Yeah.
about is going to be these first two. So our other one we have is Thundercats #1. So this is Thundercats from Dynamite. Now with a bunch of very interesting licenses we'll see going forward. There's even an ad in this for the new Space Ghost comic,
Yeah.
which is like, okay,
Yep.
like
Sign me up.
the most Space Ghost I've ever watched is like him interviewing Weird Al or Brack. So
Coast to coast. Yeah.
yeah. Uh, so this is by Declan Shalvey does the writing, who is also a great artist. You'll see one of his variants coming up, and the art is by Drew Moss. We got this great A cover here by David Nakayama, and like Dynamite, there's a lot of really great covers. Now, this is an interesting book. Um, I will say to begin with, if you know Thundercats, if you know the story of Thundercats, episode 1, season 1 of the original show, you're not too far off from
Right.
what this is. Now, it does pretty much in the first couple of pages go through the origin of the Thundercats, as in, Thundera was getting destroyed by the
Mhm.
mutants. They fled. They headed for Third Earth thanks to Jaga.
It reminded me of the Thundercats cartoon, the opening,
Yeah,
put on 2 or 3 pages in a comic book.
exactly. Yeah. So you do get that. You are starting at kind of ground one, but they do speed through that like an opening of a thing.
Right.
I want to say kind of where it slows down like speed wise. I think it says it's about 3 weeks after all of like they've been on Third Earth for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So you've got your cast of characters. There's nobody new here. The only new character that appears is Tigra's mustache.
That's right.
Tigra now has, and does he have it on the cover?
Yeah.
Okay, Tigra now looks like an old like Civil War general.
Right.
He's got like this very interesting.
He's got the mustache that then comes down and goes up that
Yeah.
way, and it looks a little weird for Tiger because I thought he's like a 20-something guy,
Yeah. It is. So it's kind of weird. It's like, what's the difference between the main universe and this universe? It's like people have mustaches.
Yep.
Is the only difference. But you see a lot of the stuff with Lion-O, who talks about, when I went into this stasis pod or whatever, I was a kid, but something malfunctioned in mine. When I came out, I was fully grown. And apparently, he did some working out while he was asleep.
Right, yeah.
Because he's pretty jacked now. But the kind of like leadership role he now has to take on. You've got Panthero playing his kind of mentor role in this, where he trains him and everything. And Lionel really wants to take the Sword of Omens. He sees that as like, well, it's my right. I need to fight with this, all of that. But Panther is very hesitant because he's like, you're still a kid, kind of mentally. Your
Hmm.
body aged, but you didn't. And maybe you shouldn't be taking this on. But of course, he's a kid at heart
Yeah.
and in mind, so he's not going to really listen to this information too much. And you do get a lot of things happening in this issue. So you got the setup. You do get some appearances by the mutants with like Slythe and some of them. You've got some great fight scenes. And I will say the biggest difference comes, and I'm not going to reveal what it is, but at the end, something does happen that did not happen in the original first few episodes of the show, where it could send this on a different path, but we don't quite know
Yeah.
yet how
Yeah.
different this is going to make
It
it.
might. It might not. We're not sure.
Yeah. I don't know if it's setting up something for this entire series of like, this is how we're going to be different, or is this a first story arc story?
Yeah.
And, things will go back to the status quo after that. Um, the art is, I would say, borders on, it's not realism. It's has a nice animated quality to it. Still very comic booky, all of that, but you're not going to get any like, this is the dark, gritty, realistic Thundercats. Even the designs and stuff are not too far off from what the original show was.
Except for Tiger's mustache.
Except for Tiger's mustache, which I need an origin issue just for
Yeah.
him, like growing that mustache.
Yeah. I want a one shot that takes me into his mind when he had the idea to do that.
Yeah, but you get good scenes with him. There's a scene where they're like hunting an animal, and they all kind of got their different reasons for doing it. So you got tiger hunting, you've got Wily Kit and Wily Cat, you've got Chitara,
Yeah.
you've got all of them kind of doing their own thing, and there is maybe a hint to a certain Mum Ra coming in the future or something with him. But I would say this is definitely a refamiliarize yourself with Thundercats. This is not breaking any new ground. This isn't like, whoa, this is so different than the
Yeah.
Thundercats I know.
Yet.
Yet.
It might later,
Yeah.
but yeah, right now, like we were talking about earlier, with Transformers over at Image, that gave us also a very similar story to what we saw in the '80s, but there's a lot of differences, right? It's a lot more violent, and Transformers we grew up with, they got killed in like the third page or whatever. This is not that.
Yeah.
This is very, very along the lines of what we watched as kids. So
Right. Yeah. So like that. If I would say it's not Transformers and GI Joe or Duke and Cobra Commander levels of, whoa, this is a big retelling.
right.
With a lot of changes. This is what you're familiar with, and if you are a fan of Thundercats, you'll like this because it is that. But I'll be very interested to see where this goes after issue 1. Now that we've got kind of the heavy lifting out of the way,
Yeah.
we've got all the stuff you've got to get done. Maybe for people who are not familiar with Thundercats or don't know
Yeah.
the original story.
Yeah, for those, if you read it and you aren't familiar with, it's a great introduction.
Yeah, you get
it gives you all the essentials.
Yeah, it gives you like kind of some here's their names, here's a little bit kind of about them and their personalities and stuff. But really good if that's the kind of thing you're looking for. I just wouldn't say go into it expecting a radical reimagining of the Thundercats.
Right.
So this is our David Nakayama cover. Very cool. And like I said, that's pretty much what the characters look like. Unfortunately, there's no Snarf in this issue.
Yeah.
But,
I'm sure he'll be there later.
he'll be there. Great A cover. And like we said, it's a Dynamite book. We've got a lot of covers to show. So let's go through these. We've got the Rob Liefeld variant.
I like that. I think where's Tiger's mustache on that? I guess
he didn't get the memo.
He didn't get the memo. Yeah.
The updated style guide. We've got this awesome Perio variant. We've got, this is your cover artist. This is Declan Shalvey doing a very classic, and we do get a very classic scene of,
Yes.
there is a Thundercats in here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the action figure variant, which is
great.
great because that just looks like the original figure, even with the arm that's colored the wrong. The glove is red, like the original figure and everything. So that one's really fun. We also have this. This is the cover E. I don't remember right off who did this one. We'll see. I think there's a virgin version that will have the name on it. We have the Jay Lee variant. That's very cool. We've got your blank cover. We've got your gold
Yeah,
logo cover.
that's very cool. I
That is
like that
very
one.
cool.
It looks good.
We've got your
Ooh.
shiny David Nakayama A cover. We've got some incentives. We got a 1 in 10 Moss Lion-O design variant. We're selling for $8, so you can see that's kind of the art style of the interior. We've got the Declan Shalvey 1 in 10 variant. We're selling for $10, the black and white. We've got the 1 in 10 Liefeld Virgin variant that we're selling for $10. We've got the 1 in 25 Jay Lee line art variant we're selling for $15. I like when they start getting to these. This is the Perio line art, and with a style like Perio's, the line art's very interesting to see. We're selling this one for $15. We've got the Thundercats 1 in 40 Shalvey Virgin foil variant. We're selling for $30. That one's very cool. And here we go. This was a towel variant. It's a 1 in 50 towel foil Virgin variant. We're selling for $30.
Yeah, Dynamite loves their variant.
They do, and there's a nice gallery in the back of the book where you can see even more.
Yeah, and I think it's 4 pages.
4 pages.
It's like, and it's not like, oh, 4 pages and they're this big. No, they're like, it's like rows and rows and rows of variant covers across 3 or 4 pages in the back. So it's very cool. You get to see them all.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody could collect them all because there's a bazillion of them. All right, so next up is, I love the title, DC's How to Lose a Guy Gardner in 10 Days. And this is a great Valentine's themed book just in time for Valentine's Day. This is, I just want to let you know, this is...
It's a little bit more pricey.
Yeah, it's $9.99, but it is a big, thick 80-page book. It's square bound, got a spine and everything. You get like 8 or 10 short stories, and it's just another anthology book like DC and Marvel like to do around various holidays. So we get all kinds of stories in here. Like, obviously, the first one is Guy Gardner, where a reporter, just like the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, a reporter goes out on several dates with him to write, and so that she can write an article about what it's like to date a superhero. And because it's Guy Gardner, the dates go about as well as you'd expect them to go.
There's probably a lot of action that happens during the dates with people attacking.
Yeah, there's a story with Red Tornado where Red Tornado, along with a new AI that Batman created, that he calls Bat GPT, they together they go to check on an old love of Red Tornado's and see how she's doing. There's a Booster Gold story where he goes back to the past to fix a bad date of a blogger who, in present day, writes all this trash about Booster Gold's dating advice show. So he's like, if I go back in the past and fix his first date, he won't blame me for all this stuff.
That's fun.
There's a really cool Flash one where Flash travels back in time over and over and over again in order to try to perfect his very first date with Iris. But of course, every time he goes back, something else goes wrong, that kind of thing. There's a really cool story with Constantine where a young Constantine helps his friend work through his insecurities about never having kissed a girl before. So that's really fun. A Plastic Man story that's fun where Plastic Man goes out with several women to try to find the right woman, but it may be that the right woman was right under his nose the whole time. Yep. Wonder Woman is a great story where everybody wants Wonder Woman to be their Valentine. Villains do, like regular civilians do, and she has to figure out what to do with them all. And I thought it was going to be like some kind of mind control thing, but it wasn't. Everybody just loves Wonder Woman, And then there's a really cool story with Nightwing and Batgirl where Dick and Barbara try to go out on a date on Valentine's Day without doing, they call bat stuff. And, of course, they can't get away from doing bat stuff. So it's just just a really cool. That was all the stories. I don't know how many that was. 8 of them, I think. But yeah, just a really fun. If you're looking for just a good one-shot anthology book that fits right in line with Valentine's Day, then this is the one to get. So we have this A cover right here, and then we have this really cool Diaz variant with Wonder Woman and all the gifts that she's being showered on Valentine's Day.
Very cool. Next up, I've got a new Star Wars #1. For a while, we were talking about the end of different Star Wars series with Bounty Hunters and Aphra, but here we have a new #1 for a new miniseries. This is Star Wars Mace Windu. This is written by Mark Bernardin, and the art is by Georges Genti, who did the Mandalorian adaptation comic. So this is really cool. This takes place before Phantom Menace. This is before Mace Windu is on the Jedi Council. He is just a Jedi Knight at this point. So he's a bit younger. And this is a time where the Jedi are kind of the protectors of the peace. We're leading up to that kind of downfall of the Jedi later, but for right now, they're pretty wild. They're thought highly of. And they go on different missions to help the galaxy. In this, it does start off kind of with a fun cold open where Mace Windu was like in this underwater prison that he has to break out of, and then there's a boat chase and everything. But it's just a fun like, cold open. When he gets back, Yoda has a new mission for him. So there is a planet that is a refinery for coaxium, which if you saw the Solo movie, that's the very explosive
Oh yeah.
that's used to make like hyperdrive fuel and everything.
Was that on the train?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that sequence on the
Yeah.
train. That's great.
So it's a new form of that that is even stronger. So it's very like kind of volatile, and they're basically like, we can't let this get into the hand of like the crime lords and stuff because they've made this, and they also have like the formula to make more. And Yoda's like, we need to like kind of check this situation before something bad happens because it sounds like the place doesn't. They know what they've got, but they don't have like the security to deal with it. So Mace is like, so you want me to go there and like get this stuff? They're like, here's the problem. It's already been stolen. And it's been stolen by someone. Her name is, it's a new character named Azita Cruz. You'll see her on one of the variants. And they're really building up this character. I've seen some kind of articles about her and everything. We don't know a whole lot about her yet, but essentially she stole this stuff and said, um, I will give it to anyone who gets me transportation off this planet and credits. So she's basically like, I don't care about this. I just need the money and to get away. Uh, and now it is up to Mace Windu to go to this planet and kind of track her down before someone else gets to her and retrieve this thing. So a lot of this book is you've got Mace going to this planet. He's doing mind tricks to get around. You got some lightsaber action. You've got kind of a street chase trying to hunt her down. It's really fun. It's a good setup for a story where it seems like maybe him and her have to team up to get away or something like that. But I thought this was a really fun issue. It does have that first appearance of Azita, who I think is going to probably appear. She seems like one they're maybe setting up to appear in future stories, maybe in different books, maybe like a new Bounty Hunters book, or maybe she'll cross paths with Aphra when she's older, something like that. I'm not sure, but it was a cool setup that I feel like will go somewhere. And it's just nice to have a book kind of set in the prequel era with Mace and seeing Yoda and all of them at their prime. Uh, so here is the A cover for that. I believe this is like a 5-issue miniseries, something like that. Kind of like how the Yoda one was.
Yeah.
We also have this really nice Ken Lashley variant. Really like his stuff.
Yeah, he's great.
We have this Go variant. And then lastly, this is the 1 in 25 Clark variant. We're selling for $30, and that does have that's Azita Cruz up there in the corner. So that would be, I guess, her first cover appearance.
All right, so next up for me is a new book from Image written by Rom V. This is called The One Hand. This first issue here, the art is by Lawrence Campbell. Now, this is set in a city called Nia Novena in 2873, the year 2873. However, with the exception of just one part of the book, it feels like it could be today, or it feels like it could even be in the past.
Yeah.
Because this is just at least in this first issue, is a very crime noir murder mystery. You know, detective trying to solve a case. But there is one aspect of it that, oh yeah, this is in the future for sure. But this is about a detective named Ari Nasser. He is literally minutes away from retiring, and I mean that literally, like, he's already eaten the cake at his retirement party, and he's already signed his retirement papers. At his retirement party, though, he sees two other detectives talking about a case. They have like a case file, and he can tell that they're trying to keep it away from him. So he marches in the office, like, what have you guys got there? And they reluctantly tell him what it is. And basically, what it is, it's a murder case that has the same MO as the killer used the same MO as a killer called the One Hand Killer, which Ari Nasser put away twice before. And so because of that, he insists on being on this case, even though he's literally about to walk out the door and be retired. And he put this killer away twice before. The first guy he put away actually died in prison. So he's like, all right, cool, I got him. But then there was another killer that came out, and they didn't know if maybe they got the wrong guy before or if this guy was a copycat. But that guy, he was put away. But now what he's investigating here is another one, another killer using all the same kind of crazy stuff, all these weird symbols that look like this. You'll see it in the book. And so this is going to be a murder mystery of this detective who's supposed to be retiring, but he is trying to solve the mystery of this murder that matches two other cases that he spent a lot of his years working on. What's cool about this is in the back of the book, we get a 2-page preview of another book called The Six Fingers. And we talked about that book, I think 2 Fridays ago on Comics from the Future. It was on FOC, I think like late January, like the 29th or something like that. And at the time, we were like, oh, yeah, it's a new book from Image written by Dan Waters. And it's about a guy who commits a murder that uses the exact same MO as another famous serial killer, but he doesn't remember why he did it.
Mm-hmm.
That book, that murder that happens in that book, which has not come out yet, it comes out in a couple weeks, that's this murder that he's investigating. So basically, like, these books are going to sort of run parallel with each other, whereas this is going to follow the detective. That book, I think, is going to follow the guy who actually committed the murder, but he doesn't know why he did it. And when we talked about on Comics from the Future, like, the solicitation didn't say this is related to the one hand, the one hand. Like, there was no. But although I guess if looking at the covers now, they have these sort of weird symbols, so I probably should have figured it out. But the solicitation
if you
doesn't.
don't see them right next to each other, you kind of just forget.
Because we talked about this one 2 or 3 weeks before that. And so it's very, very cool that you've sort of got these two parallel books, one following one side of the case, one following another. I thought that was really cool. Like, it took me a minute to even grasp. Like, I was like, why are we getting? Because it said #1 preview, and I'm like, why? I just read it. Why am I getting preview pages? And then I was like, wait a minute, this isn't what was in the book. And then I thought, wait a minute. Oh, wait. Oh, we talked about that. I had to go look at my notes. So very, very cool. So this is I really like this one a lot. Old grizzled detective trying to solve a whodunit basically in the future. So very, very cool. I recommend this if you like those kinds of stories. If you're trying to get all the Rom V stuff, this is a really good one. And sometimes Rom V goes a little bit over my head, but this one is very easy to understand. It's very grounded. Like I said, it's just a murder mystery basically. So I really like this a lot. So we have our A cover right here. We have this Kumar and Larridge variant. And then we have this one that is not on Previews World or Lunar or anything like that. This is the surprise variant, the Bueno surprise variant, which I don't know if like maybe they just if like they sent it just in a box or.
So this book is called
The One Hand.
So okay, so you got the one, and the other book's called
The Six Fingers.
Okay.
And there's a reason that it's called that. If you read this book, there's a reason that book.
Does that handprint have 6 fingers?
I don't know. Does it?
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. So this is the surprise variant. I don't know. I don't really know the history of this cover, but very cool. So yeah, when I saw that, I was like, that is very cool. We don't get that kind of stuff very often.
Yeah, it's kind of the House of X, Powers of 10, but in an Image, like they're kind of parallel but separate.
So so the Six Fingers #1 comes out. I want to say like the 15th or whatever that Wednesday is, and then #2 of this comes out like the first Wednesday, whatever the first Wednesday in March is. So it looks like they might alternating every couple of weeks. Very, very cool concept.
Yeah, so if you're getting one, definitely consider picking up the other.
Absolutely. I think these will go great together. If you pre-ordered this one and you didn't pre-order the other one, maybe pick it up off the shelf or try to get them both. It was really cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I like when not just the big two companies do
Yeah.
interesting. It's almost something like a Radiant Black would do.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
they've
exactly.
got parallel books.
And I will say that the visually they look different. Though, like this is very like almost like gritty, photorealistic, whereas that book is a lot more colorful. Because there are some preview pages on Previews World that aren't in this book, so it's very a lot more stylized. So very contrasting imagery in both books.
Well, next up for me is a new one I really enjoyed. In the Power Rangers universe, this is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers The Return. So I know there's a lot of Power Rangers books that kind of come and go, miniseries, all of that. But this is a standalone series. You don't have to have read any of the other things. You don't even have to have seen anything after Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, not Zeo, not Jungle Fury, none of those. You can just know those and those classic characters. I think even just the first version of the characters, not when like Rocky came in to be the Red Ranger or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
This is like the original cast. And this is written by Matt Hodson and Amy Jo Johnson, the original Pink Ranger. So she's doing co-writing duties on this, which is super cool. The art is by Nico Leon, which I really liked. It almost gave me a Dan Mora type vibe,
nice.
which he some of his early stuff was with Power Rangers. This starts off with kind of an opening that I won't give away too much, but it looks like something happens to a ranger, and then it kind of gets into the story where it says 22 years ago. So this is kind of like current day and back when Power Rangers was on the air, kind of that time frame. So this is kind of nowadays, and that was back then. Um, the Power Rangers defeated Rita Repulsa, and they beat Lord Zed, and they basically something happened during that conflict. We don't even know the specific details of what happened during that conflict, but one of the Rangers was lost, like died,
Okay.
like died in it, and that basically they came together after that and said, "We're retiring, and let's make a kind of a vow. None of us we don't transform to the Power Rangers. We don't use the morphing grid. We put everything kind of in the closet and don't worry about it because this was such a devastating thing that happened." Well, jump 22 years later, and another one of the Rangers has passed away. This time by, at least so far, just natural causes. But that kind of brings them back together again. But some stuff has happened while they've been gone. You have one of the Rangers who has written a tell-all book. And
about being a ranger?
About being a ranger.
Aren't they supposed to be secret identities?
Yes.
Okay.
Now he says like, I didn't give away anybody else's names. I said I was the only person from Angel Grove that was a Power Ranger, but all the rest of them were from around the world type thing. They're basically like, you got to be careful because if this gets out, they're going to figure out who the rest of us were. But another one of the Rangers, turns out they were using their morphing tech to work on some very like good things, like some clean earth stuff, that kind of thing. But they are breaking the rules. And when Kimberly the Pink Ranger, they all meet up for this kind of memorial service, and she finds out, she's like, "How could you? You know what happened. I haven't touched any of my stuff." She's even going by a different name now.
Oh wow, okay.
She lives in the Canadian wilderness.
What?
Like she is really backed off of stuff.
It's like, oh, you don't have to go quite that far, it's
And she does say, well, if Jason knew about this, the Red Ranger, he wouldn't be happy with it. And they're like, that's also why we kind of invited you out for lunch. Turns out, because we were using the morphing grid, we saw that he was also using it. And he was going out on rogue Power Ranger missions as the Red Ranger, which is really cool. He's the Red Ranger, but he's just kind of got like a serape thing over the top of it, and was going out on rogue missions. They were getting more and more dangerous to the point where he actually came to the Rangers that were left and said, "You need to stop using your stuff because it's draining the morphing grid, and I want to be in my Ranger costume nonstop. This is me now." And then something happened to him, and now they are going to try to convince Kimberly to don her Ranger gear again and go and find him. None of that's a
Hmm.
spoiler because that whole idea was in the solicitation
Oh,
for
yeah.
it. But there is something at the end of this because she might just say no, but there is a knock on her cabin door that could change everything. So I thought this was a super compelling start to a new miniseries. I like that you don't have to have the biggest knowledge of the Power Rangers universe, but it still hit pretty hard, especially that sense of loss and like how can you go back to kind of a thing you were uh, given the circumstances that have happened, but would you to save someone else? It's really, really good. And I think whether you're a classic Power Rangers fan, like you're reading all the main stuff, you'll love this. Or if you haven't visited Power Rangers things in a long time, perfect for picking this one up. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. So that is our A cover. And I'll say, like, you see all the Rangers on the cover, so they aren't showing you who is not around anymore. I thought that was a pretty
Yeah.
surprising
Could be anybody
turn
except
in
for
this.
Kimberly, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Kimberly and Jason are the only two that I'll say are around. At least Jason's not, but something's happened.
Yeah.
So that is our A cover. Check this out. We have an awesome Dan Mora cover. So back to his old ways. That's one of the. I mean, I love the original, the first run of the Boom Power Ranger comics, but that is one of the big selling points of it is his art.
Yeah, that's where I first noticed him. I was like, I'm not the biggest Power Rangers fan, but I sure do like that
Yeah.
artwork. I want to read that.
We have a 1 in 10 Montez variant that we're selling for $8. So that's your A cover. We have a one per store Dan Mora variant, so it's a virgin version that we're selling for $25. And we have this. This is the Florentino 1 in 25 variant. We're selling for $30.
All right, so next up for me is Wolverine Madripoor Nights #1. This is the first of a new 4 or 5 issue miniseries. I'm not really sure how long it's going to run. Written by Chris Claremont. The art is by Edgar Salazar, and this is set very shortly after the events of Uncanny X-Men number 268 from back in 1990. It's that epic Jim Lee cover where you have Captain America and Wolverine and Black Widow. It happens almost immediately after that issue. Although I will say that this issue feels more like a bridge between the end of that issue and the start of the story that this miniseries is going to tell. Because they don't even really get to the main point of what they want to do until the end of this issue. Because in this one, um, Wolverine, Psylocke, Jubilee, and Black Widow are all in Madripoor because they were in Madripoor in that issue back in 1990. And suddenly they run into Captain America. So when Captain America in that issue back in 1990, he wasn't in present day. He was in flashbacks. It went back and forth between 1941 and present day, which 1990, and he was only in the 1941 like the flashback piece with Wolverine and Ivan, who was Black Widow's sort of caretaker. We saw a lot of him in Daredevil in the 70s when he was living with Black Widow. But in this one, they're there. Captain America does show up in Madripoor fighting a group of ninjas from the Hand, and most of the issue is just all of the heroes fighting those Hand ninjas. And the reason Captain America is there because he's trying to track down this extraterrestrial weapon that is going up for auction in Madripoor. So he had to come track it down, and they just happen to be there. Like I said, most of the issue is just them fighting Hand ninjas, and it feels like this issue kind of needs to come up with a reason why Psylocke and Jubilee exit the story, leaving us with Captain America, Wolverine, and Black Widow. And it's not until the end that Cap says, "Hey, I'm trying to track down this weapon. You want to help me, guys?" And then, so it feels like issue #2 is going to be where that story, which is the main story of this miniseries, starts. So this one feels like a little bit of
glue
bridge
between the two.
Yeah, but still very cool. I mean, that issue from back in the day, I reread it just to refresh my memory. There is a facsimile of that coming out in a couple weeks. It feels like a missed opportunity to not have released it this week with this. So I don't really understand that. But just a cool. These 3 characters together are awesome.
Yeah,
it's a cool follow up to that. So if you like that, if you like that issue back then, you like those characters together, then I think you will enjoy this. So there's our A cover right there, and then we have this Magno variant as well.
Very cool.
Yep.
I like that team up. It just feels like they are all professionals at what they do.
Yeah.
They're all top of game
Yeah.
team up. If there was another like Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor, it would be Wolverine, Black Widow, and
And
Captain
Cap. Yeah.
America. Like it works like that too. Like these are also big guns.
Yeah, and it's cool because they're not like, this is my town, you need to get out. No, they're like, all right,
They're
yeah,
professional. They
yeah.
all know we can all use each other's help.
Yep.
That's very cool. So next up is Suicide Squad Kill Arkham Asylum #1. So this is a mini series that is a prequel comic to the new video game that came out last week. The Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And in this, you see how this current kind of team of Suicide Squad members come together. It's really interesting. This is written by John Layman, and the art is by Jesus Hervez. In this, Amanda Waller now runs Arkham Asylum because this is in the same universe as
it's supposed to be the Arkham
universe. Yeah. So it's pretty cool where you see what kind of changes she made to Arkham Asylum. You've got your classic characters that are in there. You see them all here on the cover. It's your Suicide Squad characters. And she's kind of Batman's really questioning her methods of this. And then he realizes, like, I think this is not really a great place. Batman's not allowed in there. But Commissioner Gordon goes in. I believe he's maybe mayor at this point or something like that. And Waller gives him a tour, and he realizes this Arkham is worse than ever. And not because it's so, like, revolving door, but because Amanda Waller has it basically like, they get put in their cells and then forgotten about. Like, they're bad. We don't care about them.
Right.
This is just to contain them. And the moment I really liked in this, and I think I talked about it because I read this a while back, the preview copy we've got, the part that really stuck out to me is Gordon actually stops at Harley Quinn's cell and says, like, hey, how is it in here? And, she goes off and she does something kooky or whatever. And he's like, no, I need to talk to the psychologist.
Oh, I remember looking at that back.
How is it in here? And then suddenly Harley turns and she is like professional. She's like, this is what's wrong with this place. Here's all the things that they're doing to us and everything. And I really like seeing that, like, even though Gordon and Harley, like, of course, are on different sides, he recognizes that she is a professional at she may be the most, like, the one that's the most redeemable or the most, like, you're not going to get a straight answer out of Killer Croc about this kind of stuff. I thought that was really, really interesting, and I think a real high point of this issue. But we find out that, and it's not a spoiler, it's also in the solicitation that Amanda Waller also has a reason for doing this. She wants to put together a new Task Force X, and it may just be, I open all the doors and let them all go at it, and whoever's left standing is my team. So you see what you're getting into with this. It was really interesting. I thought this was actually a really solid Suicide Squad comic, even though it's, in the video game universe, but characters are all really well done, all of that. I really enjoyed this issue. Now, this issue is polybagged because it does come with a code for an in-game item if you have the game. So that'll be a reason a lot of people will be getting it. But
every issue does, I think. Yeah.
Yes. But I thought this was really good. So if you're a Suicide Squad fan, but you're not going to get the game, still try this out because it is a cool, like, I guess just, not main continuity, but
it sounds like it's separate enough from the game, except for maybe the end of the last issue might be like, all right, let's go kill the Justice League now. But up until then, it sounds like it's just a cool, self-contained story.
It could just be, a black label.
Yeah.
Because this is also very violent.
Good.
There is some heads being chomped by certain
right.
killer sharks.
I remember that too.
So, yeah, if that's your kind of thing, definitely check this one out. I thought it was really good. Got this great Dan Panosian A cover here. And we have this. This is the Olivetti variant.
And that one's polybagged too?
Yep, they're all polybagged. There's another great cover where King Shark's about to bite a guy's head off. But literally before we started the show, we had one of our employees come in and say, I need that cover because someone just bought it.
Yeah.
So these are going fast. So grab yours while you can.
Yeah, it's good we had that digital preview copy. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to read it because they're all sealed up.
Exactly. Yeah. That's very appreciative of us for DC doing that.
All right, so next for me is a series I love, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. That's the way the teddy bears have their picnic. This is
I
the
didn't know that, but thanks.
this is the third issue, and it's still just as great as ever. So Sam, who is our main character, she's the bear who is also a murderer. We saw that in the first issue. She's still trying to figure out who is the killer in Woodbrook, the small town where she lives, because she doesn't want she doesn't want the investigation into that killer to lead back to her and her killings in the big city. So she's trying to find the killer herself. That's been the main crux of the last couple issues. This issue, she has her eyes set on a character we haven't met before named Melody, who is a cat, a cat person who is also the town butcher. So there you go. There's a access right there. So all issue, we spend most of the issue with Melody, watching her day-to-day life and things like that. But we also jump over to Sam, who is spying on her, who is peeking in her window. Maybe she breaks into her house at one point, and tries to, find out what's what. And she's a butcher, and there's a couple other clues that very much point to Melody. But maybe there's something a little bit, not all is as it seems with this new character Melody, as it might, as you might think at the beginning of the issue. So no, I can't say much more without just spoiling everything. But just another really cool. I like this series is so fun because all these animal people are so cutesy, except for all the blood and murder. But it's just really really cool. I love this series. So the mystery, the plot thickens, as they say. So we have a really cool A cover right here. I believe that's Melody. That is a point in this book, and sort of what's going on in that bedroom right there. And then we continue to have these really cool Riley Rossmo variants as well. I love these. These all have the
Yeah.
same kind of look and feel. These are great.
Next up for me, I've got Sensational She-Hulk #5. This is the second part of the storyline where it's kind of a girls' night out with She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, and Patsy Walker, Hellcat, where they're just going out to a bar just to kind of chill out and get away from all the craziness. But in last issue, you see demons start attacking the bar, and it might have something to do with Patsy Walker's past during the miniseries that brought the hell out of Hellcat type thing. But I thought this was really good. The art is by Iguara, who I really like on this book. I think he's got a really cool style for it. And what's really interesting is I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, so I'm not going to say, but somebody from Patsy Walker's past shows up, maybe a love interest she once had.
Okay.
That conveniently was like, whoops, looked like this hell portal opened up here. I better close it for you. And Patsy Walker's like, it's very convenient that you showed up here while we were here. So I thought that was really fun. It's kind of a fun cameo, but could lead to more stuff. The other big thing is, and if you watched our other show, they kind of give it away in the solicitation for the next issue, but I don't want to give it away. But Carol Danvers, once kind of the literal smoke settles, has an offer for Jennifer that maybe she'll take, maybe she won't, but it would be kind of a big deal. Also, that offer might also be to Hellcat, so we'll have to see.
I would like for them both to accept that offer.
Yes.
That would be cool.
So I don't want to give that away because I think that's kind of a fun little twist at the end of the book.
Yeah.
But I just another great of Sensational She-Hulk. Great issue. We've got our awesome Jen Bartel A cover here. I love this team too. I think it's fun because they're all friends.
Yeah.
And they also all kick butt. And we also have this beautiful Villa Lobos variant as well.
Yeah, they all seem like friends more than like Steve and Tony do. Like I'm convinced that like they're some of the best friends in the Marvel universe. Everybody else is like work friends. Oh, Captain America and Iron Man, they're work friends, but they're like friends, hang out on the weekend kind of friends. All right, so next for me is Gone #2. This is the second issue of Gone from Distillery, written and drawn by Jock. Since last issue, Abby and the crew, well, not the crew, Abby and like the saboteurs, they call them Sabs.
Abby and the crew is my band.
That's right, yeah. The Abby and the saboteurs that she's kind of fallen in with, they try to take control of the ship several times, but with no luck. Now, there is one part in this book where Abby narrates the whole thing, and she explains that because of the time dilation of space travel, the ship can travel for years while only a few months pass on Earth. So, what's really interesting is Abby, to her, she's been on the ship for 10 years now, and so she's older. Whereas in the first issue, I went back and flipped through it again just to refresh my memory. She was maybe like a 6 or 7 year old girl,
Yeah.
and this one it's been 10 years for her, so she's much older now in this. But she speculates that probably only a couple months have passed back on Earth. Um, and in all that time she's been on the ship, she and the saboteurs, the ship is huge, right? They've never been found, but the crew knows that they're there trying to take over. So it's almost like a city
Yeah.
where I know that the people we're tracking down, they're in a building somewhere, but they haven't found him in all these years. But in this issue, they say it's finally time. This is a final attempt for us to take the ship, which again they've tried multiple times before, but this time is different from all the other times. And this time, something completely different happens that will, kind of open Abby's eyes to a few things, I guess I'll say. So, just I don't want to say more than that for spoilers, but just so, if you like the first issue, then don't miss this second part, because I think the first issue came out over a month ago,
Mhm.
so it might not be 100% on your radar. So if you like it, don't miss this one. And like we say with all the other distillery books, if you like these books or if you're interested in them, try to get these now, because they're not going to do collected editions. They're not going to do reprints. They will be available digitally somehow at some point, but in the very non-traditional sense of buying digital comics.
Yeah.
So your best bet if you want these is just try to get them now, because otherwise your only other option is digital. But I don't know how you'll get them, when you'll get them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just go ahead and grab them now. So this is our A cover by Jock. We also have this B cover. I believe this one is also, yep, this B cover is also Jock. This cover is really nice. This one is from Jamie McKelvey. That one,
I
that's
like
Abby
that.
right there. Yeah, I like that one quite a bit. We also have this 1 in 10 Lee Garbett variant that we're selling for $20. And then we have this 1 in 25 Barrett variant that we're selling for $40. And that's Abby right there. She was not that old in issue number 1. So very cool. I like that kind of like time stuff.
Yeah. Okay, next up for me, just real quick, X-Men 31. I'm very interested in following all the Fall of X stuff now. So this is really cool. The last issue, you saw something really terrible happen to Talon. I'll just say that Talon died.
Oh, okay.
The future version of X-23 that was with Sync died in their attempt to get this device from the High Evolutionary that was going to basically cure people of the kind of switch that they had put in the Krakoan medicine that Orcus did to then make everybody who took it sick. So they were getting a device to kind of redistribute out very like secretly, but to heal people. Something happened to Talon in that, and in the last seconds, Sync used some Jean Grey ability and kind of absorbed her consciousness into him, where he's trying to hold on to her. But a lot of this issue is kind of about like how do you let go of somebody. It's a very kind of grief issue, which is really good. That's half of the book. The other half I thought was really fun because it's Kamala Khan and Spider Man
Oh, nice.
trying to basically get this machine of High Evolutionary up and running and distributing this stuff. And I thought Spider Man was like a real highlight in this issue. He's really funny, and you see Spider Man fighting Nimrod, which
Okay.
who'd ever thought you would see that? But it
Yeah.
was a really cool thing when Nimrod comes a calling. So I really like this issue, and I'm really interested to see what happens after this, because this issue kind of feeds back into basically the story is going to continue in Fall of the House of X. So I like how they're kind of like weaving out and weaving back in
Yeah.
to that storyline. So just another really fun issue of X-Men, and we've got a variant for it as well. This is the Russell Dodderman, kind of their trading card variant, but with Emma Frost.
All right, so next for me is Crave number 3. So if you've been following this series or reading this series, you know this is a very spicy series.
I just like hearing you talk about this series because I read this issue too, and I just want to hear how you
Well,
navigate it.
yeah, so things are just like the last two issues. Things are still pretty spicy in this one, but things are starting to get a little bit more sinister, which we assumed would happen
Uh-huh.
over the last couple of issues. Albert and Sophia, they've been trapped in an elevator for the last issue and a half, but they finally figure out how to get out. And I thought that was interesting because that sort of maybe gives us a little bit more of an insight into the Crave app and how it works in the way they get out of this elevator. So I thought that was done really well. David and Alexandra, who are kind of our two main characters in this, they have a confrontation about what happened in the library last issue. If you read that issue,
Happened.
They studied. They studied biology and anatomy.
Anatomy.
So they have a conversation about that. And David's roommate, Kai or Kay, who we like for the last couple issues, we feel like he knows something about the Crave app because he keeps leaving notes. Don't use the app. Don't use the app. He finally gets a hold of David and tells him to get off of campus and to use a landline to call him. He's very specific. He says, leave your phones at the school, get off campus, find a landline, and call me. Because again, things are getting a little bit more sinister.
Yeah, and now you're seeing the fallout of some of the Crave things they asked for, where ramifications now are like kind of starting to hit each other.
Yeah.
Like you cheated, but you cheated, and now like we come into conflict where it was so great before.
Yeah.
Now it's like, uh-oh.
It's almost like the honeymoon is starting to be over for a lot of these hookups and things like
Yeah.
that. And there's still something mysterious about the app that we're slowly getting clues to. So
And at the very end, there's something pretty drastic that happens.
I don't remember what that was, but I'll look at it
Yep.
later. But yeah, so very cool. It just feels like the next natural step in this story. So don't miss it if you've been reading it. And this is our A cover. This is the only cover we have too. So I'm not sure if we've already filled pull boxes
Yeah.
for variants, but that's all we have.
Well, next up for me,
I gotta remember. I can't remember now. I'm gonna look real quick and see what that was.
Yeah, it's a
Wait, that's the.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 It more sinister. Like, oh, that's not fun.
Yeah,
That's
right.
actually bad.
Yeah.
Okay, next up for me is Poison Ivy. This is Poison Ivy issue number 19. And I thought this was really cool because I decided to read this one because this is the secret origin of Poison Ivy part 1. So I believe this is going to be like a 3-part kind of retelling of Poison Ivy's origin. But like they always do, there's a little twist on everything.
I always love when DC does their secret origins.
Yeah.
And however it is they do it, it's always fun.
This is kind of framed as a life flashing before her eyes moment.
Okay.
Where it starts kind of in the present day as she's kind of blacking out, but then we see we go back and you actually see kind of her interest in biology and chemistry when she's younger, and her mother warns her, "Hey, you're about to go to college." And I think she goes to college kind of young because how smart she is. That like people are going to try to take advantage of you there, your mind and your looks and everything. And Ivy says like in her caption like, "Yep, that's what happened." So she finds a professor that she really likes and is interested in plant life and everything. And it's fun. She goes to school also. I don't know if they're like teachers or students or graduate students or something, but she goes to school with Alec Holland and Linda Holland.
Very cool.
So there's more plant people there,
Yeah.
and she also has a guy in her class named Philip Sylvine, who I feel like we're gonna see more of him later. But this teacher, they kind of warn her like, "Hey, you want to go out after class?" And she's like, "No, I'm gonna go meet with the professor." And they're like, "Uh-huh, yeah, sure."
Yeah.
He's kind of like the young, handsome professor and stuff. But what they bond over is he's actually trying to kind of cross plants and animals into something. So you're seeing some early Poison Ivy stuff here, which is really interesting. But it turns out that the school really puts a shutdown on this research. It's a little unethical the what he's doing, and he goes to her and kind of manipulates her to, will you help me with these projects? And it seems like maybe he's not really that into her, but he needs her brain and maybe some of her early criminal skills. So I thought this was really cool. Even if you're not reading Poison Ivy, I think this is a really fun, you know, hers is an origin that doesn't get retold a ton,
Yeah.
especially the early days.
Hmm.
Usually it's Batman's already there or whatever. But this is really cool, and I like the inclusion of Alec Holland, and we're gonna
Yeah, that
see
does sound cool.
maybe he's gonna come back into play later. But very cool issue of Poison Ivy. We also have a few variants. We see this Yannick Paquette variant. I like she's kind of a student, or at least her more lab coat thing
Yeah.
there. That's always what I really like about her and Poison Ivy, because they're both super intelligent
Yeah.
people. She's a scientist and Harley's a psychiatrist. I think that's really cool. We also have this David Nakayama variant, which is very
I
Batman the
really
Animated
like
Series.
that.
Love this
Yeah.
cover.
Sounds like too that this is a good jumping off point if you've been wanting to
It
read
is a
Poison
good
Ivy.
jumping on point. I think once it gets out of the storyline, you'll kind of be on the tracks.
Yeah.
We also have this 1 in 25 Wilson variant that we're selling for $12.
All right, well, sticking with the Batman theme for just a minute, we're gonna whoops, not that one. We're gonna talk about a Batman number 142. So this is still within the larger Zurian Awe story that Chip Zdarsky's been telling, but it's kind of it's a little sub story. It's the first part of the Joker Year One storyline. So written by Chip Zdarsky, but the artists in this are Giuseppe Camuncoli, who draws most of the book, but also Andrea Sorrentino, who draws a certain segment of the book I'll talk about in a second. Well, actually, it's my next note is that most of the issues drawn by Camuncoli and takes place during Joker's early days. So not like this. It was Joker Year One, so it's the first year of him being the Joker, not of being little. I can't remember what his real name is, but he's the Joker in this for the first year. But and it all takes place about 6 months after he fell into the vat of chemicals at Ace Chemicals. But the part that Sorrentino draws, just a few pages, but they appear to be set in the future. I don't mean like far future, but like in the future where something has happened to Gotham. Batman, like I don't, the rest of the Bat family aren't around. Something has happened. The Joker has done something terrible to the city. But it didn't focus on that too much, so I'm guessing more to come on that later. I don't really know how that all plays in, but this mostly focuses on the Joker. The first 6 months of him being the Joker, and he hasn't fully become the Joker yet,
Yeah.
right? Like when he looks in the mirror, he still sees the red hood. Like he still sees the red hood that he has on. Um, so he's just trying to he's just not his ostentatious self yet. Meanwhile, Batman and Lieutenant Gordon, because he's not commissioner yet, they are dealing with the Black Hood gang.
I just that's how you differentiate what time frame in Gotham
Yeah.
is what position.
What position
Gordon's
is Gordon in? Is he lieutenant, commissioner, mayor, whatever?
Yeah.
One thing that's interesting about this, it actually 2 times it references Zero Year from the New 52.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess 0 year happened then? Because they reference something about we just survived the Riddler, and then something about like the flooding or something, and
Yeah,
then
it
the
was all-
little editor's note says see 0 year. I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
That's just part of the DC where it's everything happened.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Everything
Yeah.
happened.
And it's not distracting if you haven't read it or whatever. It's just a quick little reference, no big deal.
Yeah.
But I actually did find this issue just a little bit confusing because I don't really know like where they're going with it. The Joker's not the Joker yet, really. Although he is like white face and smiling, but he's not like the Joker.
Yeah.
And then this weird little future story that I don't know how that figures in. There's more to come. This is going to be a 3-issue arc. This Joker Year One story is going to be 3 issues, and then we know it does play into the larger Zurian Awe story that we're going to get back to after this is over. So, more to come. I guess it was good, but I didn't quite get it
There's
yet.
some very creepy panels
Yeah.
of Joker in this too.
It's kind of like looking at a few puzzle pieces. And You don't really know what the picture is, but when you get all the puzzle together over the next couple issues, it'll make a picture. So you got to give it a little bit of time. So that's our A cover right there. We have a few variants for this that are really cool. This is the Stevan Subic variant. It's really cool. Batman there. We have this Greg Tocchini
Oh, that's
variant.
cool.
Yeah, I
I
like
like the
that one.
color.
Oh, and Batman does show up for a couple pages in this, and he looks like he did in Zero Year, where he's got like the
Oh, I
weird
love
like
that.
the weird bits and the purple gloves, and
Yeah.
yeah, he looks like that.
Does he have his motorcycle or is like his
Not in
dirt
this.
bike
Yeah,
or
not in this.
whatever?
This is a David Finch. Shoot, I should have recognized that. Yeah,
Yeah.
David Finch. And then we have this really cool Cam and Coley foil variant. That's all foil. It looks really
I
cool.
like that. And that's a spot foil,
Yeah.
so his skin's still
Oh yeah, that's right.
flat, but
His eyeball is foil and his teeth are foil, but his skin is not. Like and the ha is foil. It's really cool.
okay, next up for me, just want to mention this one really briefly because it's kind of a reprint. But this is Red Hood the Hill #0, and this is a collection of the Red Hood and the Hill story that was in, I believe,
It's like Red Hood and the Outlaws, like
yeah,
50 something, I think.
yeah. So, but there's a new Red Hood, um, the Hill, I guess
Yeah, I think
miniseries
it's like
coming
6
up.
issues or something.
But it takes place after this. So this is a good, if you're planning on reading that, pick this one up. This is written by Sean Martinborough with art by Tony Adkins and Moritat. This takes place after Joker War, so that's kind of when this came out.
Hmm.
It's about this kind of neighborhood in Gotham that's not a whole lot, even when like Joker War was going on. Said it really didn't have that big like a rise in crime because it seems like there is a vigilante known as Strike and her gang that kind of keep the peace in the city or in the neighborhood. And Jason Todd moves in this neighborhood, and it looks like he's also kind of taking up that protector role. So if you're planning on reading that new one, but you haven't read this, it feels like they're basically saying you kind of need to read this.
Yeah, it sets everything up. Yeah.
There's a lot of characters in here that I think are going to play out in that you'll probably need to know about. So, and if it sounds interesting to you, pick this up, and you'll be right on track for the new Red Hood miniseries coming up. And I only have the one cover for that, I think, because it is a reprint.
And I like that DC's doing that because, if you read this list, it says, oh, this new Red Hood the Hill miniseries sounds cool. Oh, but I have to go track down 2 or 3 year old issues of Red Hood to try to catch
Yeah.
up. It's cool. You just grab that one issue and it reprints everything you need and you're done. So I like that they're doing that. All right, so the last one for me is Avengers #10. This is the conclusion of the Avengers battle with the Twilight Court. Um, I like this issue. So in this one, Mirrodin, who is the leader of the Twilight Court, he wakes up Kang, who has been in a coma since like issue #1 of this. And what I liked about this issue is that he wakes him up and they talk about the tribulation events again. And it was nice to see because they haven't mentioned that in a good long while.
Yeah, since like Free Comic Book Day and a
Yeah.
little bit after that.
Yeah, and I was kind of worried because that sounds like such a cool concept. And I was kind of worried that maybe they forgot about it. I was like, oh, they had these all these tribulation events, the fall of the Impossible City, which was our first story arc. But there was all these other ones that was mentioned in I think Avengers #2 and also in Timeless from 2022.
Yeah.
And they mentioned these tribulation events, and other than the Impossible City, there's been no mention of them at all. And I'm like, oh man, I hope it's not one of those like dangling plot threads. But
Yeah.
no, they mentioned them again in this, and they also talk about the missing moment, which was a big thing.
That was a big thing.
Yeah, that was a big thing in Timeless from 2022, and also like Avengers #2, I think when Kang is like spilling his guts to Carol Danvers, and we get a teeny tiny little bit more information about the missing moment, and maybe not necessarily what it is, but kind of but what it is, but not like what it is. You know what I mean? So I liked it because it tells me, okay, they're still on that track. They're still on. They're still telling that story. So hopefully we'll get more of the tribulation events soon and see what they are. And there's an interesting little bit at the end, which is hinting at some things maybe to come. I really liked it. So this actually not a lot of action in this. There's some, the fighting is wrapping up between the Avengers and Twilight Court, but it's a lot of discussion between Mirrodin and Kang. But the fact that they're talking about things that we haven't heard about in a long time that I was really interested in, that I was worried that they forgot about, I really like this. So it's like, oh, thank goodness they're still doing what I wanted them to do. So don't miss this if you, if you're interested in that stuff. You've been reading this series. #10 comes out this week, and this is the only cover I have too.
Well, my last two, I've got Kneel Before Zod #2. They promised this would be a brutal series, and that does really pick up in this. As you see Zod's brutal methods, he goes to get information about why this new Krypton he set up keeps getting attacked. And he's gonna get it out of his prisoner one way or another. It's pretty rough. Also, Zod is creating an army of robots to help the city kind of just function, but also to protect the city in kind of its atmosphere. But when it looks like another attack is coming to the planet, uh, Ursa kind of questions Zod's leadership. He's kind of trying to run like a semi-peaceful planet, and she's all for let's go hard against it. So, which Zod is going to be kneeling to which? You'll have to.
Okay.
Maybe there's some twists and turns in this issue.
Who
but
kneels before whom? That kind of thing.
That's
Yeah.
a great title. Uh, so, thought that was a good issue in this kind of maxi series we've got. And then lastly, we have Conan the Barbarian. This is issue number 7. Just continues to be awesome. Reminder, we've got Savage Sword of Conan coming out soon. So just still kicking it. This one's really cool. Continuing that storyline of this kind of cursed mission that Conan went on. That suddenly, when they got back, started affecting the woman he was with that went on the mission. But maybe it's affected even more. And is Conan even susceptible to this? The art continues to be fantastic in this. Doug Braithwaite's art. Really interesting issue and some great variants for this. So we've got this Jessica Fong cover. We've got this, I believe this is a Patrick Zurcher. Yeah, Patrick Zurcher variant. And we have the Virgin A cover.
I like that.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Who did that cover? Is that Delator?
I think so. Does it say on this one? Alex Horley.
Okay. That looks really good.
Horley cover. So very cool in there. Just continues to be great. And before we wrap things up, just want to remind you, head over to infinityflux.net where you can order these books we just talked about while supplies last. So don't tarry. Head over there right now and pick them up. You can also pre-order upcoming books like we tell you over and over again so you don't miss out on any of the things. If the book is not there, you could have pre-ordered it and had it.
Shame on you. No.
Yeah, we don't want to see mean about it, but we want people to get the books they want and read them and enjoy them as much as we do. And you can only do that if you pre-order. It helps us so much know the number of books to pre-order so we don't under-order, we don't over-order. It helps us get it just right. And all the information you can give us helps do that and supply y'all with all the goodness that we go over here. So stay tuned for our show coming up on Wednesday, right?
Right, yeah, Wednesday.
Yep. Usually you correct me at that point.
No, you had it right this time.
Today's that day.
Yeah.
Wednesday when we'll be going over some of the early comics you can pre-order by the weekend. Once again, so you don't miss out on any of the good stuff, like books that may be going really hot right now, like Black Panther, like Thundercats. So don't miss out on those. And I think that's it.
Yep, that's it.
So until next time, see ya.